course, on the negative side, with an average loss of 1.93%, that would equate to a price of about 112,000 US dollars, effectively the lows of the weekend. So, if Bitcoin does trade up or down to one of these major levels, it's the same thing as what we've been saying before. You probably have a nice little short-term scalp play there if you are of that, of that type, of that trading type. I think that this indicator, again, the historical price action statistics indicator, which is a part of the caretaker's indicator sweep package, that's a mouthful, is like massively underslept on, because if you are a short-term time frame scalper, I mean, these just play off these boundaries like so often, except for in the events of breakouts or breakdowns. As you can see, actually on last Friday, closed below the bottom end of that range. And what do you know? Bitcoin follows through. It's actually a signal in and of itself, just like it was over here to the upside, breaking out above. Anyways, so going onwards and forwards from there, and again, keeping these numbers in mind, I do want to get into and review a couple of the setups that we were looking at last week. One of them was the 12-hour 5 EMA versus the 21 EMA setup. And we were looking at this as always getting, or not always getting, but at minimum getting a nice little move down to that green moving average at least. So when the red crosses the yellow, that's the 5 versus the 21. Bitcoin likes to play a corrections towards the green moving average, essentially. And if we were to go into the strategy test right here, back test the setup, there's been 26 prior setups, again, since this bull market began in 2023, and 61.5% of those have worked out in a positive fashion. So overall, that does imply that it has generally nice statistics, and this one did work out yet again. This was giving us the bias towards move down to about 115.5, and at least there, in many cases it does go lower. Now we can actually apply a similar setup now to the daily time frame for CME here, which I will get into in just a moment. We're actually going to change around a couple of the settings, and we're going to actually reduce the shorter period moving average from a 5 to a 3, which gives us 14 total iterations, again, since this bull market began. And of those, 78.5%, or just over 78.5%, have closed positively. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because these two moving averages are almost guaranteed to cross today, officially, if Bitcoin finishes the day anywhere below, especially like 116, about 116 on CME, wherever the 21 is. Actually, sorry, that'd be 115,800. So about $1,000 higher than where CME is currently trading right now. To be fair, the U.S. markets haven't even opened yet, so this definitely can change. But keep in mind that number, because as long as Bitcoin's below it, well, these will naturally cross, and at that point, that green moving average becomes a nice localized target, which is all the way down at $110,600. And remember that this is CME. This trades with a premium or spot price action by at least a few $100. So, that would imply spot a little bit lower. Now, these moving averages will rise up over time. So it kind of depends, as to what trajectory it takes to meet it. But, just about every time it does fulfill that target in a profitable manner in what is how this one is played out. Now, I do want to acknowledge that even if you are, even if you're not looking for it to play out exactly right now, that's completely fine, because you can get something like this, like you saw back on over in June, where you get that initial cross, you get one more rally. Typically that rally does not get a new high. In fact, almost never does it get a new high. And then it comes down later to the 55, but of course, because it took, eats up all that time, that green moving average gets pulled up so much. So you can see in this iteration right here, this actually counted as a loss, even though if you were to have looked at this, you could have traded this profitably. So I just want to say that that's a generalized target. It's not necessarily an immediate call to action, although more often than not it actually does work out in that fashion. I'm just saying, you could probably trade a little bit smarter than that if you are using this as a setup. For me, I just use this as YouTube generalized directional analysis. So, it just kind of gives a bias on direction, basically. Anyways, moving on from there, I wanted to get into a couple other things. Actually a few other things, in fact. On the lower term timeframes, we are seeing the potential for hidden bearish divergence already develop here on the 4-hour time frame. I think this goes up all the way to the 6, maybe even the 12. Let's double check. No, it'll go up just to the 6. But basically, we are seeing higher highs on the 4-hour RSI compared to, the 4-hour RSI is having higher highs here within the context of a downtrend. And the last local high on price that Bitcoin had was back here at $116,000, which is basically in alignment with the white turn and simple and the green 55 EMA for that same time frame. So, this is going to have hidden bearish divergence potential as long as you're below these regions, essentially, meaning that Bitcoin's a little more likely, or I would say a lot more likely, to come back down closer to these lows, maybe even slightly lower, if you will, before anything else. So perhaps it looks something like this when U.S. markets open, hopefully it puts in a higher lows for the for the Bulaw's sake. If it does play out that setup fast that we spoke about just now, maybe it comes down something like this. But ultimately, that would, again, help out with a bit more of a short-term downside bias, again, because we are seeing massively higher highs in the 4-hour RSI compared to what was on Friday, again, a couple thousand, or, about $1,500 higher than where we're currently at right now. So, that does seem to hold a little bit of weight. On top of this, I wanted to also acknowledge a couple of major things. One, the weekly time frame has officially now lost the red moving average, which is the 5 EMA. Generally, we're in for at least a correction close to the yellow moving average when that happens. Again, this is going to shift up each and every passing closure. So, the longer that Bitcoin kind of diddle-daddly sideways here, the better it's going to be in terms of like how that comes up. It doesn't necessarily need to get all the way down there, as you see in this iteration right here, but just in the terms of the reconnect with the red 5 EMA, again, this is, a really, 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 really simple sort of heuristic that we've been following on this channel on the higher term timeframes. Bitcoin loves to reconnect with the shorter period moving average, such as the 5 EMA, represented by this red line right here, on the 2-week, the 3-week, the monthly, these sort of timeframes, anytime that it disconnects. So last closure, which just closed, there was a disconnect right here, of course. The closure did not connect the low with that 5 EMA at minimum. And when we see that, we typically see price action trade sideways without any sort of meaningful continuation without reconnecting first. So let me give an example of this. We have a decent one right here. It doesn't necessarily connect on this particular iteration, but then it just trades sideways until it does, and then boom, upwards and onwards. Same thing over here. Closes away, tries to reconnect, boom, gets us to reconnect, then tries again. Same thing over here. Closes away, boom, sideways until it reconnects. And that just continues on with the sideways correction. Anyways, for this time frame, the bi-weekly, that 5 EMA is coming in just around 112,000 US dollars. So I do think we get another run somewhere down, at least around there. But I also want to bring up this time frame too, because the 3-week time frame, which is actually a little bit better for this, and a little bit more, I would say, accurate as well, is slightly lower. To reconnect with this one, it would be 110,700. So I'd say somewhere between those two zones is probably about right. Of course, Bitcoin could just rally from here and then it just pulls it up, but I think it's a little bit less likely in this iteration. Again, you're more than likely to get something like this when it disconnects right here, sideways, reconnects, boom, up. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So, it's not like death sense or anything like that. What I'm saying is that Bitcoin come down to like 110, maybe a little bit below there. You can get wicks below, that's completely fine. Just don't want to see it really close below. That's when things start to change around, I suppose. Anyways, let me bring my damn notes back on up. I just want to acknowledge, by the way, a parroted line that I've seen like a million fucking times in the past week. I don't know where this is coming from, but ever since I started talking about, hey, it might be a little bit of downside here, which, has been happening, I've gotten like, I can't even count how many fucking comments there are, but it's just like this parroted line. So it tells me that some sort of crypto influencer talked about this or something like this, that August has to be a bullish month for Bitcoin, which it's quite literally not. It's like a 33% probability to close positively. It's one of the worst months, actually. But Bitcoin is going to close August massively up. Why? Because every August after the halving has always been green. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but, well, I guess we'll see. Time shall tell. For right now, though, I would be looking for, a little bit more of the downside to occur first before anything else. On top of all of this, again, if we go back here, we still have the setup as well. There was this descending triangle on CME, which was resolved on Friday's closure, right? And that does have an implied move move. Guess down where? Oh my god, is it down to that green 55 EMA? Holy shit, it's like all these things align with each other. So we have multiple things coming in from multiple different directions, completely unrelated to each other, like, you know, formations, statistical targets, and just general setups. So to me, you know, that's likely to fall through somewhere down around there, you know, 110 or so, give or take. It can overshoot, it can undershoot, but somewhere around there, basically. So yeah, you know, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for the upside to resume until something like that happens, and then probably a nice sideways accumulation phase. So you know, if Bitcoin is going to be bullish, or as green as fuck, as I'm told, for this month on you know, in August, I you know, I really do think if it does come down right here, it's gonna be like sideways for a while and then try an upside move. So you're probably not even really looking for that to happen until like the end of the month, but that's just my opinion. I can be massively wrong with that. Anyways, as far as stochastic momentum goes, let's go over the higher term time frames. Long chart. Yes, there we go. Daily time frame over here for CME continues to the downside as long as Bitcoin's closing below 119,000 US dollars. Only 4,000 bucks away from it right now. Not bad. The 2-day time frame is going to also continue down, and I think that one is actually not closed today, but it's going to continue down tomorrow as long as Bitcoin's closing below 120,000 US dollars. The 3-day time frame is coming down, and this one's, to me, this is a pretty nasty signal right here, to be honest with you. Closing tonight as well, losing potentially the, or allegedly, the critical zone at the same time. Bitcoin would need to rally all the way back up above 121,000 US dollars in order to unfuck this one. The 5-day time frame is also coming down and continues down as long as Bitcoin's below 121,000 bucks. By the way, spot price action is about the same right here, 121, and that one just updated last night. The 10-day time frame also updated last night for spot price action. This one is coming down freshly. You know, finding the same sort of highs that we've seen actually throughout the past few years. In fact, as long as Bitcoin's below 116,000 bucks, so
good for you.
Really best right there either. Weekly time frame is also going to be coming down as long as Bitcoin's below 121,000 bucks. Again, not closing until the end of this week. The 2-week time frame is also coming down below 116,500. Again, first cross down since January of 2025, wow. Actually. The 3-week time frame. Let's see, what is this one doing? This one is still up, but will cross down in 3 weeks from now, so not anytime soon. Bitcoin is still below 113,800 by that time. So, yeah, ultimately, you know, I'm going to repeat what I've said before. In the past week and a half now, or 2 weeks, that's you know, just for this portion, I'm still going to be biased a little bit towards the downside. Somewhere around 110 makes a lot of sense. Maybe it overshoots that to like 108. It's fine. Again, the only thing that matters for general direction here is going to be closures. But yeah, that will effectively change my opinion though. Well, for that, if we're over here on the daily looking at price action pivots, I mean, that's going to call out 121. I think that you could probably front run that at some point. 4-hour time frame for the very low term time frame is going to claw out the last local high at 119,800 as it, you know, as the area of interest for flipping around the trend. So yeah, it's got a lot of work to do basically. 6-hour time frame is going to be the same number. 12-hour time frame is probably going to be actually no, that one goes all to 121 as well. So yeah, fair enough. You know, if you know Bitcoin can bounce, what I'm trying to say is Bitcoin can bounce, and as long as it does not reclaim these numbers, I personally would be looking at that as a likely lower high. So yeah, until it reclaims those numbers, you know, I'm going to be looking for further continuation to the downside, or at least a retest of these lows over the weekend. So anyways, I think that's a good place to maybe leaving off on this particular video. Of course, if Bitcoin were to reclaim these regions, then you know, we can talk about 125, 130, whatever the fuck. All sorts of amazing bullish targets, which, hey, I'd be happy for, and I think many other people as well. You know. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at for today. Hopefully the earlier video is well received. I'll try to keep this time, maybe even a little bit earlier if I can. That would be awesome. I'd definitely like to do it earlier myself. But it all, you know, depends on my sleep schedule, which is massively fucked up right now. So yeah, anyways, I'm ranting. I apologize about that. I would, however, like to wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Tuesday.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking too. That's the cleanest one.
It's on the
Yeah.
5 minute, the 1 minute, the 3 minute as well.
Yeah, this is the only one we have right now.
See, there's a tiny gap at 126. And if I have to scroll this up, this high up just to even see it, it doesn't matter to me.
Yes,
That doesn't matter.
we will be targeting the M1 ILM. It'll be sick. Buy side sweep. Most likely a failure of EM15 to close above, which is a signature of a reversal. We've tapped into the hourly PD array, which is the hourly fair value gap, which is a bearish scenario. So we have a lot going for us to take this short. This would be a short you'd want to take every time. So by textbook standards of a definite trial, like this is, you just sell this one every single time you see it. Short, all time. 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 even has it. Whatever, fun. The plausible direction if this thing go lower. We don't have to wait. The trigger is going to be a close of this gap, a close of this gap, a close of 3 minutes, force all of them together. It will be amazing. 1 minute will start it. We're doing S&P right now. Yeah. ES is not taking a bearish S&P for now. If it steps up. Mark the left side, yeah.
So if you put the stops at the highs, it looks like there's about a 40-point stop. And then if you put your stops like on a failure of the inversion, it only gets about a 25-point stop. If that trade does get triggered.
Yeah, there's like a small one in there. Just want to give it a shot. Well, look, expect to use some as we wait for this.
The 5-minute order's playing well today.
The reason we don't look at the 5-minute order is because so well.
I've been watching it a little more lately. That's actually how I took the trade on Friday.
Oh, you took the M5 one on Friday? Right.
Yeah. It was using a fair value gap coming outside of the range.
Oh, fuck. Look at Litecoin right now. Oh my god, we just talked about being the cleanest stuff. Isn't it nice when we see our teams play out that we talk about? Look at this shit. Holy fuck.
That is gorgeous.
84200 perfection, May high retest. You have a 12% drawdown rows all the way back to the highs. One of the biggest positions.
Is Litecoin kind of a leader too, where most of the other ones aren't that close to the highs?
Oh yeah, this is the only one. This and
Right.
ENA maybe. It's probably one of yeah, this and ENA are the only ones that are doing this move right now. Good, so they'll lead and then we'll evidently sell those. And move into the other one.
Here we have a 15-minute order break as well just now. We got a few more minutes till we get to close. 5 more minutes till we get to close.
Yeah, NASDAQ also, in a very similar sense to Litecoin, had this picture perfect 4-hour 200 EMA test. And I was seeing this was late June. So it was nearly 42 days since the 84200 test. Just bing bong. Let's go up. The big E120. You keep running with a quick $200 profit. Hey, good job, mate. Lieutenant took Maybach here says Alpha Trader. My answer is yes. My question is, where would you, if you completed Maybach Maybach price right now, where would it? The question I was asking myself, especially after we had a drawdown in the market, is okay. If price is good, if price is good, where would it be better, right? Where would it be the best possible split for as long as I? Is there any way that it would actually be better? I mean, for me, no. I mean, fantastic retest, unfortunately, it's underneath the daily EMA, so all that can happen with ABAC is down 20%. You guys have seen how much they're buying the ABAC. Constantly buying the ABAC. I have pretty high hope that this will be within the top 5 highest returns we'll have. The year will probably be on ABAC because I'm committing so much to it right now. Ethan Litecoin is within 3% of the pie at the moment. Global said arm purchase at 139 back on the 84 classic retest. Yeah, we probably. Look at beat down from earnings, so. Yeah, it's not gonna adjust. I'm not gonna adjust position by any means. That's where like things go wrong is the one that adjust and manage the positions they don't need to manage. Like this one, I don't think Army can manage at all. Someone said, yo, what the hell, Lupin's removing Maker? No, so Maker's not being removed. Maker is, all Maker doing is changing its name to, I think, Sky. Don't know why. Don't ask me why they're doing it. But they're removing this Sky. So there will be perpetual features offered on the old Maker, just the new Maker, but it's going to be called Sky instead. What do you think of Coinbase replacement? I think if you don't own Coinbase and you've been wanting to own Coinbase, do a 30% drop right now. Do a 30% drop in less than a month. It's the same thing I just said before. Like, look, if you're trying to determine something's a good buy, 30% drop just in its core sense is a massive, massive drop for traditional equity. So this is a time when you can absolutely say, okay, 30% drop. The only second you know too much else but 5. Because it's just drop. I mean, most of my long-term stocks, to be fair, especially the big ones, are just it had a fucking 40% drop. I'm just gonna buy this to a discount, and then you end up winning. When thinking about long-term equity, don't overthink it. You have a long time to sit on the position and allow it to marinate. It's not like when we're scalping intraday trying to make profits today. It's a different scenario. The long-term equities, you can wait a lot longer. Your outlook could be multiple months. Your outlook could be multiple weeks. Equity longs, I actually like that one a lot. That's one I'm not exposed to. So that'll be looking again.
Point is also on its 4 hours, 200 EMA, like everything else.
Okay, here we go. This is a new circumstance for the day.
Yeah, I think you know it's a recent fourth break is fucking close. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a 5-minute close.
Close fourth break. Basically, you asked me if I wanted to take it. Look, if I was to take 4, but I mean, I'm sitting at a stop that's just 60-point stop. 73-point stop. Yeah. Sometimes this could be larger. Most of you are only going to be able to trade a single micro on this. Do I think that? Let me give you all the evidence for why I think that it may not be a good idea. First off, it's too high of a stop ratio for most of the units. Use the latest future size, risk per trade, with a 72 point, you want to risk, let's say, 300 per trade, right? Your real contract is 0. Let me take the try. So, if you want to do like 350 risk, oh wait, I'm on the wrong one. So here's 300. Two little contracts needed. I was on X2. So if you're risking 300 per trade, you can get 2. Risking 200 per trade, you can get 1. So, very low reward setup. You're also telling yourself that if you're taking order that you're expecting continuation. Half is 1 hour your value gap, but you don't have any confirmation. We still have 7 minutes until the hourly closes, and we're also in the macro. So we are currently in the time frame where reversal can occur.
Market's also going 400 points since the
gap. Small 1 minute gap here. I'll keep eyes on it. Oh, there's a nice 3 minutes. 2 3 minutes, yes. I mean, 3 minutes here, 3 minutes there. We honestly have quite a large amount.
I like this 5-minute. This one below it, but the 5 minutes very clean. It's just one fair value gap.
Hold on, actually, I have an indicator to show you guys. One that's pretty made for me. For the ILM. Where is it?
There's an orb retest.
Alright, check this out. So, I'll go for maintenance for a minute. So it looks a little clunky right here, but you can see all the different gaps to the downside based on the time. The 1, the 3 are overlapping right here, so it's high value. The angle, the 1 minute right here. Alright guys, 7:08 a.m. 38 minutes since open. Mass expansion, 1 hourly gap has been hit. Honestly, not much of a reaction for the signal. This blue box you see me dragging on the screen is that hourly gap. We've had almost zero bearish reaction and definitely zero reversal potential since then. So not much is happening. No close south side. Maybe we have this 1 minute gap here.
No 5-minute gap right now.
Oh, this would be nice. If this gets to me, did we take out any? No. So we are still trading the gap. And then this would be a CISD here, a little below. So the inversion plus CISD. Like to take a short, it's probably all of it today.
1 second, and we can get this 5-minute in.
Green,
Hey, good morning.